there was actually a guy that would
Really?
play all of the drum parts for Animal.
Oh.
And it's like, when they have like a drumming legend like Buddy Rich on the show and he battles Animal, he's actually battling this other drummer who's sitting behind a curtain somewhere. And I always really looked up to that guy because he's like battling legends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's not the guy that played the parts, but the mannerisms.
Yeah.
I think
the guy
are
is
based on
like,
the Who's drummer,
nobody
Keith
knows
Moon.
who he is.
Yeah.
But even Dave Grohl from Nirvana and the Foo Fighters had a battle with Animal.
Yeah, that was fun. I watched it. I had it on. I just had it on my Facebook.
Yeah.
About it. It was pretty.
So I wonder
fun.
if that drummer who played Animal
maybe
passed away.
I didn't think about
that's
that at all.
Really, nobody know who it is.
Like you can find out. You
Yeah.
can look him up on Wikipedia and stuff. I just can't remember what his name
Of
is.
course, Wikipedia is the most trustworthy source. You have
Yeah.
to double check.
Yep.
I remember the guy's name, Peter Newman.
Okay.
Oh, that's Herman.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yes.
right.
So now I told you I remember it later.
Totally. That's right. I should have known that too.
Yeah.
I remember those old tunes.
I remember my mom telling me that I'm listening to her oldies station. She goes, "Pretty soon, show your 80s music is gonna be oldies too." Like, it's not. And all of a sudden, here oldies state you hear Motley Crue now.
It's on the oldies station.
Yeah.
The 90s stuff is moving on the oldies
I know.
station.
Yeah.
I hear stuff. It's like on the oldies country, and it's like this came out after I graduated high school. How could it be oldies?
Yeah, right.
It's scary.
I feel like it takes a 10-year gap, and then it comes back.
10 to 15 years miles by
It's just like fashion.
Yeah. Like 10 years in, and people are like, all right, Spin Doctors are pretty sweet.
Well, now, working a little backwards from her last question there, to recap on there, what are you guys' musical background training, that sort of thing? A high school band, anything like that?
I probably have the least.
Garage band.
I probably have the least training. I was in an emo band in high school, and that was about it. And then I just played in my bedroom. Took some guitar lessons here and there.
I started out taking drum lessons when I was just at the end of middle school, going into high school, and then played in jazz band throughout high school. Applied and got into music college, and I studied percussion, and I have a degree in percussion performance.
Well, I played saxophone, and there wasn't really much cool stuff you could do with saxophone other than jazz band, which was fine and fun. But then I saw a ska band, which led me into punk rock. And I went down the route of like punk and harder rock, and then into like ambient music. And I don't know. I played with a bunch of different groups. Somewhere in the last 10 years, I got involved with a country rock project, which kind of brought me into where I am today.
You didn't see Clarence Clemens, and you're like, all right, I gotta find my Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, there was a local band in Colorado called Five Iron Frenzy that was very popular back in the 90s, and they probably that changed my direction of playing like in the high school band or whatever, and playing more rock and roll type of music.
Yeah, and I mean, I've played music most of my life. I started out playing piano when I was very young, and then I switched to trumpet in school band, and kind of realized, like him with the saxophone, that especially in rural South Dakota, there's not lots of trumpet things to do unless, there's the jazz band. But I started playing electric guitar, and then I started taking that to jazz band early in the mornings, and that kind of just grew from there. I play pedal steel now, and I've done that for a couple of years. But it's just been something I've always done since I was very young. So, and then I did get a minor in music in school at CU Boulder, but really mostly cultural studies and history studies of music, not so much performance based like Scott. So.
Well, no, that actually leads into my next question. That you said you had a degree. Scott has a degree. Have any of you considered post band, becoming like band, anything in that the music education to pass your stuff on to the next generation?
Sure. Well, Scott teaches a lot already. He can probably.
Yeah, I teach drum lessons. It's something that I really enjoy doing as daytime work. It's you learn a lot teaching, and it does feel good. I know that It's one of the most basic human instincts to procreate and pass your genes on to children. And I feel the same way about music, that it's very rewarding passing on musical knowledge. And I know that I have students now that play like I do because I taught them how to play. And I've even had other musician friends who have seen my students play drums in their students' band, and they say to me, "Oh, I heard him playing one of your beats." There totally is that thing, a lineage of musicians. For a while, I thought that I wanted to teach music. I went to school for music education before I went to performance, and then I realized that if I ever do teach in an academic, like in a formal school setting, I would love to teach in college, because that's like the highest level of student ability. And from what I learned in college, if you want to teach in college, you don't go to school to teach in college. You just get really good at your instrument. So I was kind of herded by my teachers towards get a performance major, just go out in the world and play, and gain the knowledge that makes you a desirable teacher that people will want to study with you, instead of just going through academia, getting a PhD and then saying, "Look at me, I have a PhD. Learn from me because I have a PhD."
Yeah.
All of my teachers, barely any of them have their PhDs. They were the professional players in the symphony in the local city, or they were gigging musicians, and I always really appreciated that, getting knowledge from working musicians instead of just people who are studied well.
Well, now expanding on that, one thing that pops up every once in a while on the social media and such like that is like lists of all
Your
these.
change for you?
I think it's all good, actually.
We're good here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All these artists that have like masters and doctorates and stuff, they've gone basically on the road. You guys are you able to continue your education and learning and such like that while you're on the road? Are you doing anything like that?
I'm still teaching myself pedal steel every day. So
Yeah.
I
think we all actively are trying to get better.
Yeah.
I know that for a long time I tried to become a better singer, so I was taking vocal lessons. I know that Brennan, our singer, still does the same, and is working on his guitar chops.
These guys do 30 minutes of vocal warm-ups before every performance in the van. People think we're crazy because they'll walk by the van and you'll just hear, like four dirty guys in a van just doing that for 30 minutes, and they think we're nuts. But I think that's part of the craft too. It's preparation and mindset, and
What would you guys tell if you could sit down with 4 guys that were wanting to become a band, or whatever number, what would you tell them?
My big thing is just to do it.
yeah, play.
Yeah, to do it.
I feel like I spent so many years trying to find people to play with, and I didn't run in any type of crowd that a lot of people were musicians, so I spent a lot of time sitting in my room.
Thank you.
And it wasn't until I finally just pulled the trigger and just recorded an album of my songs, and then put it out there that things started rolling. And
I think this is such a
go to an
unique,
open mic. Play your songs, or go just find something.
It's not like many other professions where you can, to Scott's point, get a degree and then, if you're a biologist, for instance, you learn most of what you learn in school and then in your practice in the lab and things like that. But for a musician, there's no real handbook, and there's no real, nobody's path is the same.
We talked earlier before we hit the record button about social media and how it changed that. How would you guys say that the new way of social media, all the internet and everything has changed from the old times where it used to be that you would get a producer, you would sign a contract with a label and they would control what you do and everything. How would you guys say things have changed? Has it made it easier, harder on you?
I mean, it's easier to get stuff out there, but there's a whole sea of stuff out there. But you gotta kind of break through the noise.
Yeah.
It's just so it's pretty much you just playing to stay relevant. I think you need to consistently stay in people's minds and have content. Just content.
Reoccurring content,
Yeah.
regularly reoccurring.
People forget real quick about you.
Yeah.
Have you found it's easier to make money with the new way of doing it, social media and everything? Like, you said, I told you I'm bad with names. I want to say Scott.
Scott.
Okay, good. You said that you're working on an album. You know, have you found it easier to be able to, like, you know, sell your album piecemeal to people who want, you know, only 1 or 2 songs for a CD down at their local box store? You know, have you found that to be a better way of marketing?
You know, I've had no success so far selling any of my music, so, but I do believe that.
Okay, I need to change the interview to the second part. If you guys just now tuning in, we are listening to an encore presentation of King Cardinal. By the way, let's talk about the music. This is the show. I'm Michelle. I'm your host. And this is the second part of the interview. And right after this interview, we'll have the live performance at a house party that me and my volunteer Joe was actually invited to go to. So here we go, second part.
Talking about, you know, whether there is people who, if it's easier to sell one song versus a whole album, I do think that there's a lot of licensing opportunities which would be more likely for just one song. Like a TV commercial, for example, they're not going to play your whole album. So I do think that you can make money, you know, licensing music for movies, TV commercials, video games, any of those sorts of media that use music. I do think it's easier now than ever before because you can email people who are the music directors for shows and you can contact them directly, whereas let's say we're back in the 60s, you have to somehow meet them in person or mail them something and you don't know if it's actually going to get in their hands or not.
And there are those websites that help. You have just like, I don't know, what do they call them? What's that one called? You just put there's like a pool of music. People just like
a music library.
Yeah, and then
There's
like people will go and like people will go through and like find something that they like, and then they'll like buy it.
I use musicsubmit.com. That's what I'm using. They're online, but I don't know what they're looking for.
I don't know. I think it's called like Limo or something.
There's a website called Taxi. Taxi presents you with specific opportunities where it says this company is looking for a song that sounds like 1901 by Phoenix, and then you pay $5 to submit a song, and then you get feedback if your song doesn't get selected, or you get, you know, if your song gets selected, then you get a licensing opportunity where they say we'll pay you $5,000 to use the song, or we'll pay you $5 to use the song, or whatever.
Well, now, on the licensing, that's another thing that's changed over the years. And I said earlier that I'm an open source geek. Are you guys, what kind of licensing are you using? I mean, for a band, I'm thinking that a Creative Commons license would be a great choice. But, you know, what do you guys like? What kind of license do you license your stuff under? Is it a old-style copyright license?
The most popular is going through some of the major licensing firms, which BMI is a huge one, and then Harry Fox Agency is the other large one, where that's what most bands that are doing anything of any sort of relevance have licensed their stuff. Yeah.
So basically the old-style copyright.
Pretty much. I mean,
performance rights organization.
It really is, It hasn't changed much in that regard. If anything, it's gotten a little bit easier because you can just log onto the website and do it. Whereas years ago, again, you would have to go through more of a formal, snail mail sort of thing to get it done. So,
I still had to go through snail mail.
Oh, okay. So yeah. I mean, it depends, but there's other services out there that do make it easy.
That's why I was thinking for like a band today, a Creative Commons license would be great because there's different license types there, and you can set it up so that it's nobody can change it or anything like that. Your name's always attached. But you're basically already giving the music away free on the internet. I mean, you go on YouTube, whatever. There, people pay for it. But so it's just saying, listen to this. If you like it, please buy our album, or come to our concerts. Yeah. But here we go.
Well, and you hit on a very good point because these days, it's very, very rare for bands to sell more than, say, a few, like a huge band. Name your largest band, with the exception of someone like Adele or some of these
Dave
major
Matthews
people.
Band.
Sure.
Let's use that.
Well, and those guys would